I want to have a bunch of stuff available. So I want to start with a little rolling while sitting along the front of the neck, just to awaken this area. And then I want to come onto our backs. And when you come onto your back, we're going to do a little leg movement, showing how the legs can move separately and the trunk can move separately on a stable neck. And your head could be on your Coregeous ball or your foam roller for that. And then I want to do some neck stabilization, really recruiting the deep front musculature of the neck and elongating the musculature in the back so that we're holding ourselves up from deep in the neck versus this action. So we'll get some stabilization. And there are a couple different ways to do that. I recommend having a few things. So it can be done with a standard size therapy ball. It can be done with a Coregeous ball. Oftentimes, usually in the clinic too, I use a towel roll just because everybody has a towel roll. So lots of props to kind of have at hand because things kind of work differently for different people. So like I said, I have my standard therapy balls. I have my Coregeous ball. I have an alpha ball as well because we're going to come into the side of the neck. And I'll show you a couple different ways to do it. Sometimes this alpha ball is a lot more manageable because it's a broader surface. And then the foam roller. So a bunch of tools, and we'll use whatever you have. And if you need any modifications or variations, just let me know at any time. Great. I'm taking a standard size therapy ball out of the tote, and I'm going to begin in sitting. And I just want you first to move the head down, move the head up, rotate the head to the right, rotate the head to the left, and then from center, tip the ear towards your shoulder without turning, tip the ear the other way. And just notice where you're beginning. Try not to judge, try not to force or change. Just notice those soft barriers or boundaries that the body's putting in place. And then we'll begin. So I'm going to go right to the standard therapy ball. However, the Coregeous ball is beautiful here for doing that ball rolling on top of the surface of the skin. I'm going to take the therapy ball and I'm going to start right under my ear, and I'm going to wind it up so that I create some tension, some three-dimensional torsion and twisting in those superficial fibers of the neck. And right in this place under the ear, I'm coming right onto the sternocleidomastoid. And then I'll take up the tension, and then I'll feel after a few moments that it feels like that tension goes away. And when that occurs, I'll just let go, and I'm going to move down. I'm going to move down along that angle from the ear towards the collarbone. And I'm going to talk to the sternocleidomastoid quite a bit today. I'm going to keep moving down. And there's this big, thick, meaty muscle staying out of the throat, staying away from any open tubes. So staying away from the esophagus, the trachea. Coming right down to the top of the collarbone. I'm going to end at the top of the collarbone. right where the sternocleidomastoid that comes from the ear towards the medial or inside third or so of the collarbone, where it lands. Again, being careful to stay off of the throat. I'm going to work my way out along the top of the collarbone just a little bit. So I'm kind of center, and I'm going to move out to the middle of the collarbone. Again, taking up the tension here. Pausing for a few breaths, letting it soften. And then find one more ball stop, and then we'll just do a little recheck, checking in again. So that you can just feel the difference of just this very gentle, light work, how it awakens awareness and openness in the front of the chest, in the front of the neck. So just one more time, gently and kind of easily go through the motions, and notice it might even feel, by working the front of the neck, different in the back of the neck. And so already there should be a little asymmetry now from left to right, depending on what side you rolled. And now let's come to the other side. I'm going to come right underneath the ear, and I'm going to take up the tension in those superficial tissues and that kind of meaty, that thick cord under the ear. And that cord goes diagonally from under the ear towards the inside third of the collarbone. And I'm just going to follow the line of that muscle. And I'm taking up the superficial or the surface level tension of all the tissues. And this is a nice, gentle way to start, just bringing awareness. Feeling where the ball and body meet. And as you twist the ball, it's almost kind of like twisting the fabric of your shirt, where you feel that gentle tension. Working your way down. Remembering to breathe. And with each twist of the therapy ball, just like taking tension up in fabric, feel the fabric of the front of the neck, twist and tighten. And the body doesn't like tension, so when it's brought into tension, the body's going to say, what can I do? How can I soften? And then you'll feel a gentle kind of softening of that tension. Making your way all the way down towards the collarbones. About 2 or 3 more ball stops. Twisting the ball. Very gently. As we're doing this, we're stimulating the vagus nerve, the primary nerve that feeds our parasympathetic nervous system, allowing us to shift into a rest and digest or restoration state. The nerve runs out from the base of the head, down along the front of the throat, right into our gut. It passes along, innervates the heart and the lungs on the way. So all our vital functioning is dependent upon this nerve. So notice if as you're massaging it with the ball here, as you're stimulating it with this gentle pressure, if you start to feel a change in respiration, a change in heart rate, or even any digestive sounds. Find one more ball stop and right along the top of the clavicle right now. Taking up the tension of where the ball and skin meet and pausing and waiting. No need to effort or to push or to force anything. The body will spontaneously start to soften as you bring your body awareness there. And then now release, and one more time. Bend and extend the head. Gently rotating it without forcing, just feeling the new edge or that new boundary. Noticing if it feels different, where there still may be limitation. As we move down to the ground, where we'll start to put more pressure. So when I start sitting and the weight of the ball on the body, it's very gentle, very light. And then now as we start to put our body weight into where the ball and body meet, it will become a bit more intense. I did forget to mention one prop, a block or a nice thick book as well. So on this next part is where I was saying that you could use either the Coregeous ball or the foam. And if you have neither of those, the standard size therapy balls on top of the block, just like this, would work just fine. I'm going to come to the foam roller. And as you lie on your back, prop up the whole back of the neck with whichever prop you choose. And then keep your knees bent and bring your arms down by your sides. Palms turn up. Just for a minute, maybe even do a couple pelvic tilts, and just feel how the whole spine moves. Feel a little tugging down and then a pulling up, kind of like a little flossing. So we're flossing actually here, the dura, that surrounding protective casing for the whole spinal cord and brain, as we do a couple rocks here. Noticing how as the body moves, it pulls on the head. And that's what I want to talk to you right now, on how we use the musculature in our body, and then how we get a sense of dis-ease by poorly using the musculature in our body. And today we're diving into the sternocleidomastoid a little bit. And the sternocleidomastoid is a really primal muscle, this big muscle in the front of the neck. And people often say that it flexes and rotates the head. But really the way it's meant to function is to keep the head stable on a moving body. So that's what we're going to explore right now. I want you to take your gaze and look up to about where the wall and the ceiling meet. So the eyes are open and you're gently focusing the gaze so that you're not using a piercing gaze, but a soft gaze, kind of like you're looking out towards the horizon. And now I want you to separate your feet, probably about the width of the mat. And I want you to start rocking the knees side to side. And as you rock the knees side to side, start small. Observing how first the pelvis rocks, then the low back rocks, and then starts to get a little bigger, rocking you up into your rib cage. And then you even feel one shoulder lift, and then the other shoulder lift, as you just create this gentle churning and rocking in the body, beginning from the feet, coming all the way up. And keep that gaze and your head somewhat stable on a fixed place. And this is how the sternocleidomastoid is meant to function, so that when we walk or when we run, we can keep a fixed gaze on our target point. And whether, you know, previously it was on prey or something of that nature, but now these days it's just on where we're going. Generally, we orient our head and our gaze towards the horizon to give us balance. And so maybe notice how that rotation even picks up a little bit, and you'll start to feel this sort of massage to the base of the head as you get a little extra push through the foot, and you feel one shoulder lift and then the other shoulder lift. So this is a nice long lever here. And head is softly resting on support, generally stable, with a fixed gaze and a moving body. Things start to go haywire in the body when this muscle is actually used to hold our head up against gravity rather than keep the head in space, moving still in space over a moving body. So now we're going to keep with that moving body. And first thing I want to do is and you can stay with the head supported on the foam or the Coregeous ball, whatever feels right. Now I want to change it up a little bit. I want to make that lever a little shorter. We're using the foot and knees as the lever. Now I want to use the arms as the lever. So I'm going to take one therapy ball to begin, and then have the other one on standby as well, because we ultimately will come to both. But I want to take one therapy ball underneath the shoulder blade. Let's all do the same side. So let's go under the right side, take a single therapy ball underneath the edge of the right shoulder blade. Find that just right spot. You might have to wiggle a little bit to get it right where you need it to be. I wore a loose shirt today. That wasn't a good idea. And now bring that arm, so it's the right arm, up towards the sky. Just let that arm be soft and notice how the shoulder blade drops around that ball, that therapy ball behind the back. Now I want to have you breathe in. As the chest opens, the shoulder blade drops back. And then as you breathe out, feel how the arm, shoulder blade all reach forward. And I want you to actually be able to see your thumb right in front of the eyes, so that you just come into midline and then let it kind of drift back out to your side. As you exhale, that thumb comes right into your gaze, thumb in line with the eyes and the nose, and then come back and just notice how the head is staying still and the shoulder and shoulder blade are rotating, like we're reaching. Watching the thumb, exhale and reaching. Couple more rounds. One more time. And then remove the ball. Switching it to the other side. or taking the other ball to the other side, because we're going to take both in just a minute. And so now find that just right spot underneath the left therapy ball. Feel the shoulder blade drop back around the therapy ball. Head still is resting and supported, finding a place that can really be supportive for you. You might even just need to put the towel roll or a pillow or something so that the head can feel like it's not doing anything. The head is staying supported and still, and we're using some of this other musculature so that it's this fixed head and moving body. And so what we're doing, instead of using the head as the lever, we're using the body as the lever to actually work and treat the neck. So now, take the arm straight up towards the sky. Let that shoulder blade drop down around. And you might feel some of that mobilization in the shoulder blade. So you might have to just shimmy the shoulder blade up and down and forward and back for a few times just to get the ball in there. This is always a tender spot for so many of us, because again, we start to use these muscles improperly. Instead of to drive and move the body, we use them to support the head. So we're re-educating how to use them to drive the arm and the shoulder in movements while we have a fixed head and neck. So let that shoulder blade drop back around the ball. Breathe in here as it drops back, as the chest expands. Then as you exhale, thumb comes into midline and reaches towards the sky. So fingertips reach right up towards the ceiling, maybe where the ceiling and the wall meet again. And then inhale, come back down. Arm drifts out to the side a little bit. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Gazing towards the thumb as it comes into sight in the midline. One more round. And then coming back to center. I'm going to come to both balls now in the shoulder blades. And you can decide if the head feels like, okay, I've had enough of it being supported, like it just needs to rest on the floor. You can take the foam or the therapy ball out right now. That might be a viable option for you. I'm going to keep it supported. And if you're feeling like you need even a little bit more support or stability, you could take something between the knees just to give it a little squeeze, make the pelvis stable. So now, whether you have something between the knees or not, or under your head or not, the head's going to stay stable and the pelvis is going to stay stable. So feel the tailbone resting balanced on the floor. Again, maybe find that balanced position by tipping the pelvis forward and back a couple times and shifting side to side a couple times. So you feel that whole triangular bone at the back of the pelvis, creating a stable base for the pelvis. And then you feel the head firmly supported so that nothing has to be done to hold up the head. Now we're going to make this movement reciprocal. So it's going to mirror walking, running, reaching, activities that we do in daily life. So now both arms are going to come up, shoulder blades behind the back. Again, all of this can be done without any props. We're using the props as extra cues to learn these movements better. So here, we're going to start with the right. Breathe in, let the shoulder blade reach back. Exhale, right arm reaches towards the sky into midline. Inhale, come back. Exhale, left shoulder reaches. Feeling how the shoulders are rotating. And I really like to think of those primal roots as I do this type of movement. Like think of yourself as a cheetah or something, running and reaching with the arm as the head stays fixed on the target ahead. So I have my eyes gazing right where the wall and ceiling meet. And then one hand reaches into that line of gaze and then comes back out. And then the other arm exhales and reaches into that line of gaze. And I'm feeling this twisting from side to side in the rib cage and the shoulder girdle. Exhaling as I reach, inhaling as I return, exhaling as I reach, inhaling as I return, exhaling as I reach, inhaling. 2 more times on each side. Feeling this rotational motion of the trunk of the shoulder blade, almost like an oblique crunch. Really feel the arm reaching up to wall and ceiling. One more round. And then release. Remove all of the props for a moment. Lie flat onto your back. Let go of everything. And just rest. Feel the whole spine supported. There may even be a sense of throbbing or vibration or warmth in the base of the head and neck. And now you may even choose to rock the head or neck side to side, just to let it go, noticing if you are holding any last bit of tension there. And now I really want to come in. So now this whole time we worked on this rotational movement of the head without even moving the head. Now I want to, but the head was supported. Now I want to create and cultivate strength in the neck by getting some muscular activation. So there's a couple ways to do this. I'm going to show you first with the towel roll. This is the way I'll generally do it in the clinic, but my favorite way truly is with the Coregeous ball. So I usually put the Coregeous ball behind me and do it. And then I even tuck the Coregeous ball into my chin and do it. But I know everyone has a towel roll at their house. So I'm going to start out by rolling up a towel, putting it in the back of my neck. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck the chin towards the throat, and I'm going to press the neck into the towel roll. So I actually squish the towel roll with my neck. And I may even feel the occiput of my head just barely hover off the ground. And I should feel this front activation in the neck, right under the chin, between the chin and the throat. And I'm going to hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release. And we're literally here doing neck crunches. So we're getting that core, the deep core musculature of the neck to engage here. And let's do that 3 more times together. Tuck the chin towards the throat. Think about pressing the chin right into that and pushing the neck back to squish the towel roll. Feel the muscles on each side of the throat, of the esophagus and the trachea engage. You should feel an anterior front activation in the neck musculature. And I want you to hold that for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release. And it's a small movement. It's not a big motion like engaging your biceps or doing leg lifts. It's really like a contraction, almost without movement, because these muscles are postural muscles that should be able to stay on for long periods of time at a low grade to literally hold us up against gravity. So 2 more times here, because then we're going to add on. Again, tuck the chin towards the throat like you're closing that Adam's apple. Press the neck into the towel roll. Feel the front of the neck engage. You may even feel this lightening in the occiput. And all of the work should be in the front of the neck. Notice if there's anywhere else activating to try to help you. Notice what happens in the jaw. Notice what happens in the eyes. Notice what happens in the chest. And then release. Take a full letting go breath. There should be some effort involved with that. And just notice, can you isolate that effort, or does everything start to tense? And if everything starts to tense, then you're just doing too much. Let's do that one more time. Tuck the chin in towards the throat. Lengthen out the base of the head, like someone's pulling the crown of the head like a puppet. You might even take your fingers and give a little pull of your hair and see if that helps stimulate that activation. Feel the work in the front of the neck. Hold for 3, 2, 1, and then release. And this was all supported activation. Now we're going to do it in an unsupported way. I'm going to have you take that towel roll. That towel roll is going to come into the front of the throat, in that space now between the chin and the Adam's apple. And you're going to take that towel roll for this next part, and you're going to scrunch it with your chin. You're literally going to scrunch it, and you're going to scrunch so hard with your chin that you lengthen out the back of the neck, and you feel this tiny hover of the head off of the floor. If the head cannot lift off of the floor without other things engaging, if you feel the back of the neck engage as you try to lift it off the floor, keep the head on the floor and keep working on strengthening through the front of the neck. So if you start to feel the back body try to kick in to pull and the chin starts to pull up, then you still need to work on gaining a little bit more strength and stability. So keep the head supported. I'd rather have you feel the right things than try to hold the head up. So let's do this 3 times together now. Towel goes right into the throat, tuck it underneath the chin. Chin comes down towards the throat. Really scrunch that towel roll. Lengthen out the back of the neck like you still have a towel back there too. And then see if you can tuck the chin so much that the base of the head just barely hovers, like a 1/4 of an inch. All of the work is in the front of the neck. Hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. You may even feel how the back of the neck starts to lengthen and stretch here. 2 more rounds. And if this towel roll in the front is no good and you're like, I am losing it, come back to that first variation with the towel behind. Listen to what your body is responding to. And all of this is to relearn and reteach the body how to move more efficiently and effectively. Again, tuck the chin. Chin tucks into the throat. Squish the towel so much that the back of the neck lengthens and the head just barely hovers. You may even feel it touching still, but it might just feel light. For 3, 2, 1, and release. It should feel like you're doing neck crunches here. This is working the deep core of the neck. It's taking us out of those reactive postures that the head and neck get in. It's getting those deep muscles to work that are meant to hold us up against gravity, so that the muscles that are meant to move the shoulders and shoulder blades and then to keep the head still along a moving spine can work in a on-off way, in a more appropriate way. So let's do one more time of this activity together. Tuck the chin towards the throat. Feel the back of the neck lengthen. Feel the back of the head lighten. Front of the neck is doing all the work. Keep breathing. 3 more breaths. And release. Now we'll come into a little more conventional rolling. So roll to your side, and we're going to come into the side of the neck for this last rolling sequence. We'll come back towards the more traditional sternocleidomastoid roll from the occiput down the side of the neck, which probably feels more familiar to you. And again, this can be tender and sensitive as you start to put your weight into the balls. So if you have a larger ball or an air-filled ball, that might feel better. If you're working with the regular therapy balls and you tend to be tender and it's too much pressure, if you start to feel things tighten in response to the pressure, it's really important to let the whole weight of the head rest on the balls. So if you find that you're tightening up against the pressure of the ball, maybe you put this little towel that you were just using over the ball. That is a great way to pad it, to make it a broader surface area as well. And it would just be on top of the block, that little towel on top of the ball. And I'll actually do that too for now. And I'm going to come to that spot right where we began the whole class, right behind the ear. And I'm going to come right to the edge of the cranium. So the edge of the skull, right at the bottom of the skull behind the ear. And now I'm going to allow myself to rotate a little bit. So chin will gaze up and down so that I'm massaging along the base of the skull just a little bit. I'm just sort of rocking the head forward and back. I'm going to take the towel so I can feel it better. Although the towel was nice to keep it out of my hair. So be creative, play with what variation works best for you. This is all about listening to that internal teacher, cultivating internal wisdom to be able to listen and to respond what your body needs. And then as you find a place of sensation here, maybe find stillness and just pause and lean into it, seeing if you can let that point of sensation start to dissolve so that it becomes less intense, like ripples broadening. And as you feel the body soften and sink into it a little bit more. And so in all of this work, it's important to first approach yourself with kindness and curiosity, not with the intention to make things go away or to fix things, but to meet yourself just as you are right now. So whatever you're feeling right now, meet yourself there. Allow yourself to soften. So see if you can create an attitude of softness around the point of contact of your body and ball. By bringing your attention there, and listening to what the body is asking for. So be generous with yourself. And then I'm going to work my way down off of the side of the skull a little bit into the side of the neck. And again, it's as you get into the side of the neck off the skull that sometimes if you haven't done much of this work, or if you're working through or with something, that it will be very tender where the ball touches the side of the spine. So just modify with either a larger ball or some additional padding as you start to move into the side of the neck. And I'm going to be behind now that muscular wall of the sternocleidomastoid, of that big triangular muscle that runs from the back of the ear towards the front of the collarbone. And I'm going to rotate the head down and up. And as I rotate the head down, I'm going to bump up against the back edge. And that's your stopping point when you come into that muscular edge, which may have some trigger points or sensation in it. When you bump up against it, just pause, feel that speed bump, and then back off. And we're just going to kind of bump up against the speed bump of the sternocleidomastoid and then rotate, then kind of fall off of it as the ball falls back towards the the transverse processes of the spine. So you'll feel the bony points on the side of the spine. Then you'll feel that wall of muscle in the sternocleidomastoid. And it's kind of like we're pushing that muscle forward, kind of strumming it almost, but not strumming off of it. But it's just kind of like you're kneading it. You're sort of plowing into it, moving it forward and then coming back off of it. And then work your way down a little bit more as it feels right. And then sometimes the best thing, or what the body is asking for, is stillness. So if you find a point of sensation, or if you happen to find yourself tightening up against the sensation, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, how can I be with this right now? How can I be kind, generous in this moment, giving myself exactly what I need? And then find maybe one more ball stop. Making sure the head can feel supported and heavy the whole time. No need to hold the head up at all. If you find that you're efforting, what external support can you give yourself? Maybe a little more padding, making it a little higher, broader surface to rest on. This could even be done with the foam roller if you're particularly sensitive. It gives you a nice broad surface for the whole side of the neck to rest. Take a few more breaths, waiting for that sigh of release. That sigh is a sign of soft tissue release, of softening both the body and the mind. The ha sound is associated with the heart, so it's that shifting from the head, the thinking mind, to that feeling mind. Finishing up on this side and transitioning to the other. We'll finish up on the other side. You can just roll over, but I'll flip so that you can still see me. Beginning at the base of the skull, behind the ear. supporting the ball, whichever prop you're using, the foam or the ball, a larger ball or the ball on the block, so that the head can stay in neutral in midline. And then you can get a little gentle rocking along the base of the skull. And you can start to listen to that internal teacher as you work your way down the side of the neck. Pausing as you come into a point of sensation, meeting sensation with kindness, with curiosity, with gentleness. This week in my classes, I'm exploring that loving kindness, which is sometimes hard for people to connect to. There's a misunderstanding sometimes of the word love in our language. There's so many different variables and variations. So as you meet yourself with that loving kindness, it might be a sense of generosity, a sense of gratitude, a sense of softness. Those are other words that could be used to describe a sense of nurturing. Loving kindness could be described or felt like a sense of nurturing, like you're cradling a baby. So how can you be that? All of that for yourself. Can we begin by opening to ourselves in a kind way, welcoming whatever is arising. And notice, oftentimes that's when we notice that we're striving or we're averting. So work your way down the neck, gently welcoming sensation, leaning into the sensation and then backing off. Taking a few more rounds of breath here. Sighing, letting the head be heavy, giving yourself external support so that you can let the head rest and feel supported for about 1 more minute as we complete. Check in 1 more time, first to the sensation, and then if there's any resistance to that sensation, any holding, and can you soften a little bit more? Taking 3 more breaths. And then releasing, coming back to sitting. As you arrive back at your seat in the starting position, pause. Feel yourself again in gravity. Notice if you can stack your rib cage on top of your pelvis. And then your neck and head on top of your rib cage with equal space in the front and the back of the spine. And then just retest, bringing your chin to your chest, looking up towards the sky. Turning to the right, turning to the left, Bringing your ear towards the shoulder. Moving gently without forcing, feeling the effect of the practice. Thank you so much for joining. Have a wonderful day.